All right, we're back. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Rob Ellis and Derek Gunn will be joined.
Who is unmuted, by the way.
Yes, congratulations, Derek. First break that we've come back from where Derek was not muted. So we're making progress there, people.
I'm still in vacation mode, man. What do you want from me?
You're still in California. You're still on Pacific time. So for you, it's only I don't know, 10:30.
It's
whatever it is.
12:30. Yeah, 10:30 in the morning. Yeah.
There you go. All right. Joining us right now. What a thrill. What exciting news that it came down last week.
There he is.
Keith Jones, the one and only, our former colleague to an extent, for sure, is taking over as the director of hockey operations for the Philadelphia Flyers. And he joins us right now. Keith, congratulations, man, first and foremost. And I don't know if you felt it. I know you've been kind of back and forth with your other duties that you have that you're still finishing up, but there's a renewed excitement, and I mean this sincerely, in the Delaware Valley to where people were really kind of checked out. If there's anything that's happened over the past week, that's one thing. But first off, congrats, man.
I appreciate that, Rob, and great to see both of you guys. It's been a while, Gunner. Always enjoyed our conversations at our time there at Comcast Sportsnet back in the day.
Yeah, man.
But just really honored to be on with you guys, and so thrilled to have an opportunity to, help bring the Flyers back to where things used to be. And it's just a great chance to reconnect with the fans and get them to reconnect with the Philadelphia Flyers and our brand, and make sure that we do our part to get the team back in a place where the fans can be proud of it again.
Mm-hmm. Keith, I have to ask you this first and foremost. You are so good at what you do. You've been doing it for so many years. Why would you want this position? Why would you put yourself in a position to where this is not just a retooling project? This is a reclamation project. Why would you want to take that burden on at this stage of your life?
Yeah, it's a great question, Gunner, and it's not something that I did not think a lot about. I've been very fortunate in my broadcasting career. I have a wonderful job. I do not win and lose in this business unless I say the wrong thing. So far, I've been very good in that regards, thankfully. But I do miss the wins and losses. I do miss the agony of defeat and thinking about it all night, trying to find a way to win the next day. And I really think that's what was part of the driving force behind it. It is the only team and the only organization that I ever would have considered this type of opportunity. The Flyers have meant that much to me. They've been such an integral part in my not just playing career, but more importantly, my post-playing career. Without them and without Mr. Snyder, I wouldn't be doing all the things that I've been able to do in my retirement. So I do owe a debt of gratitude to the organization, but also to the fans who have given me a great chance to be a big part of the community in Philadelphia.
Okay. Jonesy, you played the game at the highest level, and as in your broadcasting role, you've covered the game for a very long time, not just the Flyers, but nationally, which gives you access to every single team, every single coach, every single player in the NHL. And you've been doing it for a very long time, and as Derek mentioned, at a really high level. Was there ever a thought about going this route, maybe after you first decided to hang them up, or at some juncture into your broadcasting career? When did this thought permeate in your mind that maybe you want to go this direction?
Well, there was thoughts of going into coaching when I first retired, but the TV just happened suddenly, and so did the radio. And things just kind of fell into place quickly, and I didn't have a chance to really stop and consider the other option because I didn't have to move. And my daughter was at an age where she was in school and just growing up with all her friends, and that kind of outweighed the option of trying to move and establish this type of career. So the part about becoming the president of the Flyers did not, really arrive until I was asked, and just if I had interest. And that's when I started thinking about it. The city is such a great place, and it can be a difficult place. It's a unique landscape, and I know it well. And I recognize the importance of teams communicating that message to their fans. Some have done it extremely well, and some have not done it that well. And normally the teams that haven't necessarily gone on to do great things. But I look at the Eagles and what they're doing, and I want us someday to do things the way they have. I want, to produce a lot of our own talent and then have the ability to go out and sign free agents when necessary because of the managing of the salary cap. Howie's done a great job with that. The hiring of Nick Sirianni was outstanding. He's done a great job of relaying that message, and that's the kind of thing in the back of my mind that makes me think that we can get this done on our side, that being the hockey side of things.
So Jonesy, when this was announced last week, I was out in California, and immediately I saw all the comments on social media, especially Twitter. Jonesy, please help fix this team. Jonesy, you got to turn this thing around. This is not going to be a quick fix. So from your initial observation, what needs to be done differently? And I'm sure you've had discussions with Danny Briere. What things need to be done differently to hopefully get this organization back to the prideful organization it was when I first got to know you back in the late 90s and early 2000s?
Yeah, one thing we need to do, Gunnar, is we need to develop our own talent. I mean, drafting is one thing, but having players that kind of arrive and don't progress is something that we have to make sure that doesn't continue to happen. And there's been a lot of young players that have showed glimpses, but haven't taken it to where they have been projected to get to. And in a salary capped era, you have to build from within. I mean, there's options out there as you get yourself in a position where you're going to compete for the Stanley Cup, where you add those pieces. We're not there now, and it's going to take a patient approach, but one where communicating to our fans what we're doing, I think will be a lot easier for them to buy into. The work is going to be extremely hard. It's going to take a lot. I can guarantee you no one is going to outwork us in that regard. We're going to find a way to make this happen and at the same time keep our fans informed of what we're doing. But I think that's probably our number one area that we need to improve on, and we need to hit. We need to hit on some of these draft choices, not just the first round picks, but some of our latter picks as well, and then bring it all together and then make a stab for some prominent free agent players when we're in a position cap-wise to do that, because we have a great city to recruit players with. People love to play here. The fans, when your team is good, make you feel really good. And we're getting that message out there.
Jonesy, on that note, how is it going to work? Danny Briere is now the GM. The interim tag is lifted. We know your role as the president of hockey operations. In terms of draft, in terms of free agents and decision-making with personnel, how will it work with the conglomerate with you guys?
Yeah, Danny's going to have a major say in that. It's going to be his people working for him. And He's been inside. He has been watching and observing in multiple different ways as he's kind of moved up the ladder as far as experience goes within the organization. So he has an idea where the fixing needs to take place. He also has an idea where our strengths are, and he's got a great feel for exactly what he needs to do. I'll be a contributor in that regard, probably more so down the road. Right now, I'm jumping in with both feet and becoming familiar with our personnel, with exactly how Danny and Torts are going to do things. We're unique in the situation where John Tortorella will have a lot to say. And we're going to be listening. This is an experienced National Hockey League coach that cares. He cares about getting this team back to being spoken about in a positive way and back on the landscape in Philadelphia sports. I appreciate that about him, and he is going to have a major role in getting this team back to being a perennial Stanley Cup contender.
So Jonesy, as Rob just mentioned very thoroughly, you have played this game at the highest level. You have had the luxury of having a unique perspective for so many years in terms of calling the game behind the mic, talking to coaches before and after games, talking to players. You've watched the game evolve, just like every other major sport. The mindset of these players of today have evolved compared to when you played the game. What is your expertise in terms of trying to help rebuild this team? Is it evaluating talent? What is your expertise?
One of the things is bringing people together. I mean,
Okay.
I that's a big part of being a team. And I had various roles on numerous teams, but one thing that I think I excelled at as a teammate was making others play better, complimenting what they do and allowing them to bring their game to higher levels. And at the same time, pushing myself to make sure that I'm continuously contributing to their success. It's not about me. You know, it's never been about me. It's not about my team. It's about our team. And I think I've done a really good job in, you know, kind of managing that type of a role throughout my career, both in hockey and in television. The television part, as you guys know as well, is a lot of teamwork. It's a lot of, you know, not necessarily taking the spotlight on everything that's taking place. Sometimes it's allowing others to excel. And I want to make sure that I continue to add those type of positive reinforcements to bringing this organization back to where it used to be, having people who leave the arena feel positive about what they've contributed to helping the team be successful, be recognized for doing that, and appreciated for doing that. I think those things are going to help bring us together. Those are some of the ways I think, sometimes subtly and sometimes aggressively, that can really help us get back on track.
Mm-hmm. Jonesy, you're also a guy who, go back to your radio days, which sounds crazy saying it in past tense now, but, you know, being on the morning show with Angelo and Al and the crew for as long as you did, you have a real good feel for Philadelphia. I mean, I know you've been here. You put roots down and you were here for 25 years. You've been here for a long time, even though you weren't born here. So you also have a good idea of just where the fan base is, whether it's the frustration or whether it's just people almost checking out to an extent, but you also know what it's like with the other team. So how much does that part of it help you try to incorporate and bring everybody on the same page as well?
Yeah, we hear it. We hear our fans. I can guarantee you that there's nothing that we're hiding from. That is one of the great benefits of working not only in radio, but with Angelo Cataldi. I mean, Angelo is someone that I have the utmost respect for because of his work ethic and his relentless pursuit of the truth. He would never let you off the hook, and he has never let any team off the hook. And that's something that needs to continue as a tradition in Philadelphia, because it's a little bit different than other places. He has a lot to do with it. The other shows and other content, whether through television or on the radio, continue to drive that home. And I think just being upfront, being available goes a long way in helping, us put ourselves in a better position and looked at in a different way in the community. Flyers have not been talked a lot about. I was on radio and we rarely talked about them. We need to change that the best that we can, and recognizing that we're not the NFL, we're not the Philadelphia Eagles, but being in their shadow is not a bad thing. And for the last little while, we haven't even been in their shadow. So the availability is going to be something, and making sure that we show our that we can.
Hey, let me just follow up real quick on that, Jonesy, if I could. Had Angelo not retired, would this have been a consideration for you, or would you have stayed status quo?
That's a great question. I probably would have stayed loyal to Angelo, because he was the first guy that, gave me a contracted job after I was done playing hockey. I mean, I couldn't thank him enough for the things that he did. Loyalty matters to me. It's a big reason why I'm finishing the job on TNT and going through to the Stanley Cup final this year. I'm a big believer in finishing what you started, and it's a terrific question that thankfully I don't have to think about. Right. It's obviously what the reality is I have taken the job and I'm thrilled to, but if Angelo was still around, I probably would have been continuing to.
Gotcha.
Josie, I don't know how well you know him, but how do you think your personality will mesh with Tortorella? From what I know of him and what we've heard about him, he's an either-or guy. Either you like him or you don't. How do you think your personality and Briere's will mesh with him?
Well, I don't like him. I love him. I can tell you that. And I've known him for a long time. We worked together in television back in 2014 at TSN in Canada, and I got to know the man away from, the rink and the microphone. He is a.
Uh-oh.
We lost Jonesy for a second. Keith, if you can hear us, we'll try and get you back hooked up. I'll have Tone, and you can. Oh, he's back. He's back. Okay. Jonesy. Oh no. No, we just there he is. We got you.
There he is.
We lost you for a second. Yeah, you said you don't like him, you love him, is where you were. There you go.
And
okay,
he is just he is exactly what this team needs at this time. And what I appreciate the most about him is what he is like as a human being. He gives back. He has the full intentions of making this team better for this city, and that's something that I've always appreciated. He is perfectly suited for Philadelphia, has a great level of hockey IQ. He's a very intelligent man, but he's also a great motivator. And when we add some of the pieces that he's looking for, and he continues to cultivate the pieces that are already here, I think the end result is going to be something that the fans are truly going to appreciate. I appreciate a lot for what he's done throughout his career and what he's going to do for us in the future.
Right, Rob, let me follow up real quick. And, with that said, Jonesy, how much input does Tortorella get to have in terms of changing the complexion and the roster on this team as well? I mean, you have a perspective. Danny has a perspective. Tortorella has a lot of respect around the league for what he's done behind the bench. How much input will he have?
Yeah, that's going to be a balancing act, but there's no question he will have, and we're going to work together. I am ears wide open when he's talking. This is a person that I respect as far as his opinion goes. And that's kind of a new and refreshing look at things. This is not something that commonly happens. So I know people, especially in, where our team is at this time, are looking for fresh perspectives. And we're going to give them one. We're going to use a unique triumphant that's going to work together, and we're going to have arguments, and we're going to have agreements. And at the end of the day, we're going to make the best choice for our organization, with all three of us being involved until we hammer out the right answer. So I look forward to those discussions. They're going to be plenty of them as we move along. We are open people. We like to discuss things. We like to work things through. And ultimately, in doing that, I think we're going to come up with some pretty good results.
Jonesy, you mentioned earlier the Eagles and Howie Roseman and the job that they've done. Maybe you've already done it, but will you seek out opinions from guys in other sports? In other words, Howie or Dave Dombrowski or other guys you respect, around any league.
Yeah.
Is that something you'll do?
100%. Yeah, I look forward to having those conversations, and that's one of the, the great things about taking this job. I'm in a position where I can do that, where they can give me some great advice. I have some questions for them, no doubt about it. And that's something that I look forward to, having some access to, and then taking that information and doing, the most I can with that to make us a better franchise as the Flyers. It's great of access. It's great to have that type of availability from those guys. And I think it's something that we have to take full advantage of.
Hey, how are you able to balance this? You got to focus on games, man, all the way through the finals, and you got to put on a managerial hat now. How in the world are you doing this?
And talk to knuckleheads like us too.
You know what? You know what's funny? Before he answers, so while we're texting back and forth, I said, Jonesy, how many media outlets have you talked to before us? He goes, wow, about 20. I'm thinking, man, we were off last week. He's hit everybody in the country and then some. But just to get back, how are you balancing all this, man?
Yeah, I think I'm lucky because I've done it for so long, from jumping from radio, getting back late at night from Connecticut back in the NBC days, and then jumping on a flight to catch up with the Flyers. I'm pretty good about keeping things in compartments. It's really enabled me to do all the different things that I've done throughout the years. So this doesn't feel different in that regard. I know I'm going to be very busy in between games. I know I'm going to be very busy when the games end, and that's when the real work is going to start. But it is a balancing act, no question about that. But my most important job now is the Flyers. But I want to make sure that I do a good job for the National Hockey League and ending strong here for the remainder of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and of course the final, which is so important for those players and coaches and organizations that have put themselves in a position where they can lift the Stanley Cup, which is, where we want to get to down the road.
Jonesy, Danny is while he's been with the organization for a little bit, this is his first time as a GM without the interim tag on it. For you, first time as a president. Will you look to bring in, I don't know if you want to call it a right-hand man or somebody else who's been around, or maybe you feel confident with people in the organization already, but will you look to bring in somebody who's been around a long time, who's been through the wars here in those positions, maybe potentially before?
Yeah, we have the resources to do whatever we feel necessary to do. That's one of the benefits, being part of the Philadelphia organization and an owner that's, willing to spend whatever it takes to get this right. So that is an option. There's no doubt about that, Rob. That's something that we're going to look at. We're going to go through and see what we feel like we need, but that's a very important hire. We're going to make sure that whoever we do bring in to help is going to be someone that we highly respect and feel like is going to make us a better team. So those are things that we're going to be discussing in the near future and continue to discuss today. There is going to be some adjustments to who we have around, and I'm looking forward to, that search and discovery mission that I think that's somewhere where my connections will help a lot because of my very friendships throughout the National Hockey League and the business. So there's a lot of options out there, and we're going to use everything we can to get this thing right.
Hey, Keith, has ownership given you guys carte blanche to do what you have to do to turn this thing around, or do they give you certain restrictions, or do they say, hey, you know what, we got to change the culture, we got to change the complexion, you guys, whatever you think we need to do, just go out and do it. We know it's going to be a slow, arduous process. You guys just go ahead and do what you got to do.
Yeah, we have full support to get this job done, Gunnar, and it's a very fortunate position to be in. And we're going to make sure that we do our part to not let them down. We want the city talking about the Philadelphia Flyers and the positive things that they're doing, not just on the ice, but in the community. And we're going to do our very best to make sure that we get this team to that point, in recognizing that it's going to take some time. But in a salary cap world, there is things that inhibit you from doing things quickly. But there's nothing that inhibits us from adding the right people in the right places when necessary. And we're going to make sure that we turn over every stone to make sure we don't miss anything.
Wow.
Jonesy, how big a challenge is it to build this thing the right way without jumping the gun a little bit? What I mean by that is you may not look, I'm a big believer in Carter Hart, but there isn't a ton of star power, frankly. And maybe the salary cap answers this question with restrictions that you have, but is it going to be tough to stay disciplined to building it the right way rather than jumping the shark a little bit to try to get some name power?
Yeah, no, we're not going to jump the shark. I can guarantee you that. We're going to do this thing properly with the way that we envision this thing to play out. I'm here covering the last four, teams left in the National Hockey League, and none of those four teams have a player making over 10 million. So this is about balance, and this is about, building certain areas of your team that can really help you achieve success. All four of the remaining teams have something that we're looking for. We know what it is, and we're gonna dig to make sure that we, find it as quickly as we can. And when we get it, we want to keep it. And that's something that we're talking a lot about right now internally.
Hey, Jonesy, anytime you watch any game, when you hear the announcers and the analysts talk, man, they spit out all this information, boom, 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 boom. You said, man, these dudes are smart. They're on top of it. But the guys behind the scene don't get enough recognition. And the reason I'm saying that, where I'm going with this. I understand riding shotgun with you is my guy. I've known, my goodness, since I got to Pittsburgh, oh my goodness, back in the early 80s, Ben Boomer. Ben was with the Pirates when he and I became friends, and he's been texting me while you're on the air talking to me. And he's your statistician researcher for the series.
Yes, he is, and he has been, since dating back to the days at NBC. Ben is an incredible guy in that regard.
No
He
question.
fits seamlessly, and he's just one of those guys that you'll love to have around.
Yeah.
And he provides a lot to the broadcast. He is easy company. That's what I say. And gonna go grab lunch with him after we get off the air here. He's a big part of our team here, as are so many of the other folks, as you guys know, in your years in television and multiple media jobs as well. There's a lot that goes into what we do to making us look good and feel like we're smart and try to impress people. So yeah, he's one of those guys, and there's a lot of them, but he does a fantastic job.
He keeps texting me saying, "Hurry up, get Jonesy off the air. We got to get lunch."
I'm hungry.
I'm like, no. You wait your turn. No.
One more question, Jonesy. If you could describe Al Morgani in one sentence, please do. Our buddy, our mutual friend. I know you and guys are as tight as it gets, but if you could describe Al and his quirkiness in one sentence, what would it be?
I can do it in one word. Strange.
Yes. I don't think anybody would argue that one. That's for sure.
I could do it in two words. Very strange.
Yes.
He's one of my so I absolutely love Al. He's such a super guy. And we've had many dinners along the way. I kept him out of the loop on this one. He's too connected to everybody in the game. So he found out when everybody else found out, and he still pretended he knew before, but he didn't know anything.
I got to ask you this real quick on that note. I know you obviously shared this with your family, your wife, your daughter, et cetera, but did I hear you right? You actually let Angelo in on this, who was notorious for not being able to keep a secret. You actually shared this with Angelo?
Yeah, it was within the last 12 hours before it was coming out. And he is the one person, as I mentioned to you guys earlier, that I owe so much to, and enabling me to come on and be part of his show. 21 years with that man, and we never had an argument. And you guys know Angelo well. So that's not an easy.
You're the only one. Yeah.
Yeah, I can manage that. I think I'm going to be okay in doing helping the Flyers get back on track, because he's a difficult guy, but his care factor is off the charts.
Wow. Jonesy, listen, man, we're excited. And I'm happy to have, honestly, hockey be relevant again in this city. I can't wait. For those of us who grew up here, it means a lot. And we couldn't be rooting more for you as a person to succeed than we are. So we wish you all the best, Jonesy. Thanks.
You know how I feel about you. I'm so elated and so happy for you. I miss our conversations in the newsroom and down in the tunnels, man. Some of the crazy conversations we have, but considering the dire straits this organization is in, I don't think they could have picked a better person to try to help turn this franchise around than you. You know it. I don't have to tell you this. You know it's going to be a long, arduous journey. You're in a very critical, passionate fan base. You would not have taken on this job description without thoroughly thinking this through. And I think you have the hard exterior to deal with what's to come. And hopefully everything that you and Danny Briere and Tortorella are trying to do turns around a lot quicker than later.
Well said.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, we're going to need a little bit of luck along the way too, but we're going to put the work in. I can guarantee you that. Thank you so much, guys.
Hey, Jonesy, one final thought, Jonesy. Can you get me a Rob free tickets to hockey games?
Jeez. You are shameless.
You call me anytime.
Jonesy, I can't take this guy anywhere, man. This is unbelievable, this guy.
Hey, you got to tap into your friends, man. That's what professionals do.
Right.
You see all these guys. Hey, Jonesy, you see all these guys, all these entertainers and musicians and athletes sitting courtside at all these big games. You think they're paying for the tickets and they got millions. Okay. You think somebody they know. Why not get in?
You are a weasel. What? That is a weasel move.
Man. Jonesy, help a brother out. I'm poor.
I've been there, buddy. Don't worry. I've been asking myself.
He knows. See? He knows. All right, you know what, Jonesy? Forget Rob. Just to get me in. I don't care about Rob.
Jonesy, go get lunch. Get away from this guy.
Tell Ben I said hello, would you?
All right.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
All right. Great, Keith. All right, Keith Jones. Great guy. Great guy. Hopefully, and when we look, we always keep it real with you. And, we want to be objective about things. And I will be objective when the season starts. And when I start seeing the moves that they're making, there's no question about that. But if there's a better guy out there, I'm talking about anywhere, you won't find it than Keith Jones. He's that kind of guy. Trust me, he is.
I think the greatest attribute about Keith is this. He's in a market. He knows what's to come. He knows how critical these fans can be, and he knows that they're day and night. They're with you 1 minute. If you don't produce, they're against you the next minute. I think nothing that he does would be taken personal. Whatever shots are thrown his way along the way, the rough journey that's going to start, it will not affect him, because I think he's as passionate. No, I know he's as passionate about turning this around and is reinstilling the pride in the Flyers organization as the fan base is. He will take nothing personal. He's not thin-skinned, and you couldn't have picked a better person. You really couldn't have. Yeah.
Well said. All right. Interesting stuff there. Good. And look, the city's better when the Flyers matter.
And when I get my tickets, I don't want to hear you whining because I didn't ask you. So I'm just telling you right now. You call me a weasel. I can't take him. I can't take him anywhere. And the next thing you know, you're going to see me on one of the cameras on the Phillies broadcast.
Right at the glass, too. Yeah, right at the glass.
You're going to see me on a Flyers broadcast. D-Gun, how did you get there? You didn't even think about your buddy? And I'm going to say, oh, you mean the weasel buddy that you called me? I'm sorry. Who are you again? I can't hear you. Who are you?
Rob. All right, let's get a timeout. Let's come back. We'll set our sights to the NFL, including contract talks with Joe Burrow, with the Cowboys, who have a lot of players coming up, with the Packers offensive coordinator chiming in. We'll get into the NFC East schedules and rank our top 5 NFC teams. So don't go anywhere. He's Derek. I'm Rob. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Excuse me. I want to tell you about Flynn Tree Services. Yes, Flynn Tree Services is an experienced, licensed, and insured Pennsylvania tree services company that will trim or remove any unwanted trees off of your property. Now, they're experts at trimming all types of trees, and they serve southeastern Pennsylvania, South Jersey, and northern Delaware. Flynn Tree Services specializes in tree removal, stump grinding, as well as tree pruning. We got the good time of year right now, right? Things kind of calm down a little bit, sort of the end of spring. Good time to get your trees evaluated before the summer hits with some of the winds and the heavy rains and the stuff that we get during that time of year. You go to their Facebook or Instagram page for a sampling of their work or more information. Give Flynn Tree Services a call at 610-850-2848, 610-850-2848, or online at flynntreeservices.com. That's Flynn